Okay, so this video is about passing data from the CPU to the GPU, and basically that's going to be uniforms. But before we do that, I want to import, or rather include, let's see here, math. So include math.h, okay, and I just need to make sure that, I'll do this for all of them before the code is up on GitHub, but yeah, we have this -lm that is including the math library there. Okay, so I'll go back to main.c. So we've got that, should work. And the reason I want to do that, I want that is for a cosine function. So we're going to move around the texture. Okay, so I've added these 3 lines. This is using glfw get time, so we get time. Then there's a delta time, and later we're going to want to maybe think more about frames and so on. We're not going to use, right now I'm not going to use the delta time and last frame, but I am going to leave those there. And so this is a new line here. This is GL uniform 1F. So I'm going to show you later the documentation that's online for various types of uniforms, because you can add a lot of different things here, like ints and so on. The F is for float here, so we're going to be sending a float. Now, there's 2 functions being called here. You could break this down into 2 separate lines, but the GL get uniform location takes 2 arguments here. The quad shader, it takes a shader. Okay, we have a shader that we've made before called quad shader. Let's see here. That you can see that up above here. Quad shader is it's really the only shader in this program so far. It's the only shader program in this program. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. Anyway, so this GL get uniform location takes a shader, okay, and then it takes the name of the uniform. I'm going to show you in the actual shader code that we have this uniform set up there. And instead of 0.8, I am going to make this current time. Okay. Now what I need to do, sorry, I do want to show you. Okay. Oh, I did do that right. All right, so shaders. I don't think it's in here. No. Oh wait, yeah, it is here. Sorry. Yeah, because so trans here is for translate x, and I just want to make sure that is. Why is this not working for me? Did I play around with my Vim? Okay, whatever. It's not working for me right now. I must have played around with my Vim. Main.c. Where were we? Down here, yeah, it is trans x. That's good. I just doubted, second guessed myself. I thought maybe I put y here. Later, we're gonna want translation, scale, and maybe orientation. Those are kind of the 3 main things that you often play around with, right? Translation, moving it in x, y, or z directions. Then you can scale in the x, y, and z. And then you can apply rotations, which will determine the orientation of an object. But we're keeping it simple, and we're just dealing with translation in the x direction. Now, I may have missed. Let's look at the shader again, so I can explain that a bit. Pretty sure there's nothing in here. Right, there's nothing in here. This is the same from the previous chapter, which was textures. So it's in here, and so we have GL position equals, and we have everything is unchanged except this plus trans x. So it's going to add a number here, and that's it. You know, I've explained before. It goes from -1.0 to +1.0 in x, y directions, also in the z direction. That's how OpenGL works. Anyway, so let's see if this will run. It's possible I'm forgetting to do something here. And looks like it didn't compile. Current time. Oh, current time is undeclared. That would be, yeah. Forgot to declare these 3 variables. So, sorry, they were floats. Current time. Was it current time? Let's do it like this. Delta time, and there's like last or something. Last something. Last frame. Current time, delta time, last frame, and these are all going to be floats. Delta time, last frame. Normally I'd want to maybe initialize it to 0, but I'm not going to do that right now. There we go, and it just moved off because we're not using the any cosine yet. It's just, you know, it's using the current time and then translating based on that. So it just goes up, right? Time typically only goes forward, only goes up. So I'm gonna make a cosine here. Oops. Make sure I do that right. Hopefully that's correct. Oh, I can go like that. And it moves around like that. The frame rate on my screen is smooth, but I realize I'm recording with a 30 frames per second, and my recording software is maybe having trouble. It looks like it's coming in a little, what's the word? It jitters a bit maybe, but on my screen it is smooth, and it's moving back and forth. So that's going to be it. Oh yeah, I'm going to add also the, look at the documentation. There's a lot of different uniforms that we can add. There's also a uniform buffer object uniform buffer object, or UBO. That will be a later video, sometime later. That's where you can basically pass a buffer of data to the GPU. That will go into the GPU's RAM, I'm pretty sure. So it will have access to a little buffer of data available for your shaders to work with. So that's if you want to send more data, because the typical uniforms that you send are just small amounts of data. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the documentation here on uniforms. So I just searched OpenGL and uniform, and well, there's some documentation here, but the one I was looking at was here, I believe. So we've got different types of uniforms, and you've got so I'll just show you how big this is. Okay. We've got version support, some really old ones that don't have the full support, but everything after 3.0 pretty much has all of these uniforms. Some errors and description and some notes, parameters, but here are all the different types, okay? So starting with 1F, you want to look at this part here. It's very important. Just like sometimes I might forget to add a semicolon at the end of a line in C, sometimes when I'm playing around with uniforms I might forget to get this correct, and so it's key to be looking here. So 1F is for when you want to pass one float to the GPU, 2F for 2 floats, 3F, 4F. I is for int, so you can pass 1 int, 2 ints, 3 ints, 4 ints. Note that the parameters here, it's all kind of straightforward. They all take the location, which is, you pass in the, well, you have to get location, right? So I showed you that earlier. And then you just pass in the data, basically. Same for UI, which is unsigned int, then, okay, the stuff that ends with a V is for sending arrays. So we're not doing that yet. I'm not sure if I'll get to that, but because I use UBOs, uniform buffer objects. This might be faster, I don't know. But for arrays of floats here, arrays of ints, and so on, arrays of unsigned ints, and then we get to matrices. All of these end in, all of the matrix ones end in V, but it says down here, let's see, where did it say that? I was reading some, here. So used to modify a matrix or an array of matrices. So when we pass a matrix to the GPU, which we're going to be doing, we'll use this command. It doesn't have to be an array of matrices. Okay, so yeah, the v1 also, you can also use this for a single uniform variable. But yeah, because, so in that case, one of the parameters is count, so your count would be 1 in that case. We don't need to do that. So it's a little bit of a different syntax, right? You have the location, you have a count, and then a pointer to your array, essentially. But we are going to get into passing matrices to the GPU. That's important. And so we'll get to that, but that's the other type of thing that you can pass on. I'm not seeing 4x4s. That's pretty important. I don't know why I don't see 4x4s. This is it. GL uniform matrix. Yeah. This is a 4x4, which we're going to be using a lot. If you're doing 3D work, you use 4x4 matrices. If you're doing 2D work, you use a lot of 3x3 matrices. I'll explain that kind of stuff later. So yeah, basically floats, ints, unsigned ints, and matrices. Matrices, I think, are always going to use floats, not ints. We don't use ints with our matrices. We only put floats in them. And so if you, for some reason, wanted to use, I don't know why you would use ints with your matrices. That doesn't really make sense to me, but if you did want to do that, I would just pass it in as a array of ints, or use a UBO, uniform buffer object, which we'll be doing sometime later. So that's it for uniforms today. If you enjoy my content, like, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching. That's it. Bye.